Hello and welcome to Accelerate Your Life. Today we're going to be talking about an amortization schedule. So what is an amortization schedule? All it is, it's a schedule of all of the payments that you'll make on a loan, and for each payment, how much total loan balance will you have remaining. Alright, so we're going to start off with some basic information. First thing you're going to need to know is the loan amount. And we'll say the loan amount is $300,000. Next thing you need to know is, well, what's the interest rate? And we'll say that best loan that you could get was 4%. Next, you're going to need to know, well, how many payments per year are you going to have to make? So we'll say payments per year. We'll say that's monthly payments, 12 payments. Next, we're going to say, okay, you want to know how many years is this loan? All right, so go number of years. That's a good term to use, and we'll say there's 30. All right, so now you want to know, well, how big is my payment going to be? Now, the bank will tell you, but the bank is probably just going to run a calculation kind of like this. Payment. And they'll use this formula right here. All right, equals payment. All right, and parentheses. Now look here, it shows rate, N per, PV. Yeah, you need to know this. PV is present value. The rate is how much of what your monthly rate is going to be. So yeah, that's kind of the early information you need. So what is the monthly rate going to be? Let's see, rate per month. All right, and we're going to say it's this, equals this divided by 12 per year. And so that's what you have. Now we'll go ahead and we'll make that a percentage. So look up here, you've got all these different symbols. You can choose this one here, percentage. And we want to see what number is there, so we're going to make it a little bit bigger. All right, so that's your monthly rate. All right, so now let's try this one. Equals payment. Let's see, you want, the rate is going to be this. All right. Next, they want to know number of payments. Well, it's really going to be this times this. 30 years at 12 payments per year is going to be 360. All right. And finally, you want to know how much is the loan amount. So this one equals this one. This is just this times this, and this one here is this up here. All right. So that covers the whole thing. And what it'll show you is actually a negative number, like that. Why? Because, well, it's how much you're taking away each time. But in making the amortization schedule, it's a little bit easier if we kind of do the negative version of this. So negative times negative is the positive. So we're just going to click on that formula again, and we're going to put right here between the equal sign and the payment sign, we're going to put a minus sign. All right, and that will make it look positive. All right, so this is how much the payment will be at 4% interest per year for a 30-year loan on a $300,000 loan. So now let's do the actual amortization schedule. So what we have here is, first we want to know what is the, let's see, balance. What's the balance of the loan? It's going to be kind of wide. All right. Next we need to know what is the interest payment. So let me explain that. Equals this. So the interest that you pay is paid on the remaining balance. So what that means is that early on, because the balance is still high, you are paying a lot of interest on it. But over time, the total amount of interest goes down, and because it's a flat payment, the total amount that you're paying on the principal goes up. So interest, and finally we have principal, or how much of the loan you're paying off. Right, we're going to take these, we're going to make them bold just because it looks easier, looks better to me. And all right, I'm going to add a column here. So I right click here, and I do insert. Right? And this is because we want to know the total number of payments that we have. So 1, 2, 3. All right. We know that it's supposed to be 360 payments, so I can fill the thing in series, meaning it'll continue on to 1, 2, 3. If I pull this down right here, clicking in the lower right hand corner with this little cross sign, all right, it goes to 4. So if I continue to pull down, it'll continue to increase. And I'm going to do that all the way down to about 360, somewhere around here. Right. 360, I figured that out because with the header and 360, it would be 361 lines down. Right. And we're going to make all of those bold. All right, now here was the loan amount, the original loan amount, which I just used a formula equals this cell here, B1. All right. Now I could type that equals B1, or I could say equals, and I can click on it like this. All right, now we want all of these to be in accounting format. All right, so I can go up here to this little section here that says general and number and all that, and I can click on accounting. All right, it does this. All right, when it does all these hashtags across, what that means is that it's too narrow to fit. So I'm going to click on here between the columns, and I'm going to double click here, and makes it wider. All right, these ones will probably need to be a little bit larger as well. All right, so here's what you have. You have your original loan amount, and you need to know how much your interest payment will be. All right, and don't worry, once we get through the first few, everything else is going to be super easy. All right, so equals the balance times this interest rate. Sorry, I didn't need to do that. Right. And that's how much the interest payment is. And so the principal payment is just equals this minus this, because like I said, it's a flat payment amount, but the interest will change. So it's all a ratio between the interest and the payment. So we have that. Now, at this point, we should be able to make certain things work out. We'll just say, okay, well, this right here equals this. Now, when I click just on this, and you'll notice there's no dollar signs on here, it just refers to the one above. All right? So that minus this one here. All right? And again, there's no dollar signs, so it's referring to the one row up and 2 columns over. All right? And that's what we want here, because as we go through this thing, everything's just going to continue on down. But the interest part is going to change. Right? If I pull this down, it's going to try to look here at B5. But we don't want it to look at B5 every time. So we're going to kind of lock it in place. I'm pressing F4, and you know to put dollar signs in. So dollar signs, it means it's locking this column and this row. So every time it'll refer to this and only to this. All right. We also have here, every time we want to be subtracting the interest payment from the amount of the payment. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to highlight B6 and we're going to press F4. And we get dollar signs again. And like I said earlier, you could very well just, instead of doing that F4 thing, you could type in dollar signs. Alright, so here's what gonna, alright, sorry, one other notice. You notice it's, the F2 is referring to the one next to it. So if I move this down, it's going to refer to here, and it really won't be looking at anything. Alright, but we want that because as we go through, we want every time these formulas are going to refer to this payment and only this payment, and we want it to always refer to this rate and only this rate. So now here's what it looks like. I select these two and I pull them down, meaning I click on the lower right hand corner and I just pull it. And you notice the numbers changed. All right. Now the interest payment is lower. Let's click on this. It's now referring to this one. See, before it referred to this one, now it's referring to this one, but still referring to this same rate. Now, is that accurate? Well, let's see. Let's find a calculator. Right here. All right, we are saying 299,567.75 times point. I won't be able to get this perfect, but I can get close enough. All right, and oh, yeah, I did slightly wrong, but that's okay. I should put the decimal over a couple. I should have thrown a couple zeros in here, but it comes out to about the same. Alright, so for the rest of this, all I have to do is I select all three and I pull down. Interest has gone up. The amount of principal remaining has, or interest has gone down. The amount of principal has gone up. And so this means that the balance will be eaten away more steadily every single time we do this. All right, so now I'm going to pull this down all the way to 360. And right about here, it should zero itself out. What did we, so let's take all this and pull it down one more. What's going to happen? Zero balance remaining. 30 years from now. All right. So next, let's look at how much interest did you pay in that time. And this is the important part to know when you're buying anything with a loan. It's that the longer the loan, the more interest you pay in total. So we'll say total interest. And so we want to sum all of these interest payments. We want to add up all these interest payments all the way down to here. So we want to do that, but we don't want to sum anything that is 0 or less than 0. We only want to sum up interest payments that are in positive numbers. Why? Well, I'll show you in a little bit. I'm going to show you what happens if we change some of this information. All right, so equals sum. If I was just trying to add them up without the concern about the being greater than 0, then I would just use sum. But I'm going to continue with SUMIF. All right, now it wants me to choose the range, and the range is everything here. Okay. Next, it wants me to put in a criteria. My criteria, as I said, is it needs to be greater than 0. Right? So I'm going to put in quotes, greater than sign, 0, and then quote again. All right? So, and I finish it off with another parentheses. So when you're building a formula, there's always the parentheses on each side. So what we have here is sum everything that's in this section that's greater than 0. Right, so what's the result? Oh, this is kind of ugly, so we'll put this in accounting. So on your $300,000 loan, you're paying $215,000. That's a lot of interest that you're paying. But what if you could get a lower rate? It was $215,000 before, and you manage to save yourself that, just 25%. Well, you've just saved yourself $15,000 by finding a slightly better interest rate. That's not bad for doing a little bit of extra work. You know, you shop around a bit, you save yourself a whole lot of trouble. All right. So now let's look at a couple other things. We'll go back to the original 4%. You decide that you want to make extra payments on this thing. How much of an extra payment? You want to say you've got an extra $200 a month to pay. You got a raise and now you've got an extra $200 a month. Let's see, extra payment. So you got $200 extra, right? And we're going to write down here that this number here, 215,608.52. All right, and we're doing this just so you can kind of remember what it was. All right, I'll kind of make it like this in yellow. I'll give it an accountant thing. All right, so I'm just leaving this here as a reference so that you can see what's going to happen. All right, so you've got your original interest payment, and which is still based on the remaining balance, but with the principal, let's see, you actually want to do this plus this, right? So it would be 1632.25 minus your interest payment. So we got to make a few adjustments. So equals sum, right? And then parentheses, B6 plus the extra payment here, and close the parentheses. So what you're looking at is it's first starting with what's in the bracket, which is this minus this. Oh, and we want the dollar signs. Or this will move as we move the formula down. So we want this minus this, or sorry, this plus this, so 1632.25 minus this 1,000. All right, let's see what that does. So before, let's see, we've got we've got a larger payment. 1632.25 minus 1,000 is 632. All right, so let's just move this all the way down, and you're going to see here what the effect is going to be. You notice already just one extra $200 payment early on saves you the difference between these two amounts here, which is doing some quick math, I'm going to say it's about $460 by making that $200 payment. So it's pretty good. So now we're just going to take this formula here and we're going to move it all the way down. And here's what's going to happen. You notice here that there's some negative numbers at the bottom. Well, once I let go of this, it's going to fill in all these with the new formula, and you're going to see a lot more of these negative numbers, like this. That's because that $200 extra payment is eating up the principal a lot faster. So the last payment that you make is here at year 280, or at payment number 286. That's your last payment. Well, what year is that? 200. Let's see. 286 divided by 12. So that's somewhere around. I'd say that's somewhere around year 23 and, well, 10 months or something. I don't know. So this is saving you it's saving you almost 6 years, or a bit over 6 years, just by paying an extra $200 a month. And you notice the total interest. You're paying the extra $200 a month to pay off your loan faster. And that's saving you $215,608.52 minus $165,196.78. That saved you $50,000 in interest by paying the extra $200 a month. What's $200 extra a month per day? $6.66. So you're saving, instead of going out to eat, you're going out and you're bringing in some sort of frozen meal. So by doing that and paying that money towards your principal, you are saving yourself $50,000. So that's not bad. All right, I am going to go ahead and add all of the formulas I used into the description box, and feel free to play around with this, see what you get. We'll just do this here. I'm going to call this a $500 payment. And it paid it off even faster, or it paid off even more. So feel free to play with that. See what happens if you save some interest. You saved $100,000 by paying $500 extra a month and saving yourself 25%. So play with that. And with that, you have a good day.